Well, Keith hasn't taken his medication before the podcast.
I don't know why I still laugh at all of your one-liners.
Everybody always laughs at my one-liners. That's what makes them so funny. Like,
They're
holy,
raw, unscripted, and
they're beautiful, baby cakes. Come on. Come on. Don't fight it. You're fighting it. Just let it go. You know what I mean? It's like losing your virginity. It hurts in the beginning, but after a while, you just dig it.
yeah.
I hope that was caught on. I hope that was caught on tape.
You know it, baby.
Oh, hold on a second. Part of my costume's missing. I'll be right back.
All right. Are we going to keep it clean for the podcast? What do we?
Yeah, you know I'm all
Yeah.
about that shit. I'm gonna save the naughty stuff for Pokeville later.
Okay.
I'm looking younger by the day, aren't I? Well, all I need is a couple of ski poles next to me and some skis. I'm like in Aspen, Colorado, skiing
All
right
right.
now.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how buzzed are you?
Oh, I'm not buzzed at all. Just getting
Oh.
started.
All right.
How buzzed are you?
Not at all.
I'm good. Keep drinking.
Okay. Are we ready?
I was born ready, babe.
3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the Complex Couple podcast. Today we are going to do a little bit of a check-in. It's going to be our first monthly check-in in terms of what's happening in our lives and the world around us with the coronavirus, because life is changing. And I think we're about 3 weeks in now, and things are really starting to get real. This morning, the most recent statistics were 775,000 confirmed cases, 37,000 total deaths, affecting 178 countries around the world. And Keith and I were really struggling this morning with those numbers. Keith, I think you in particular were really feeling some feels. So why don't you tell us what was going on today?
Yeah, morning was a struggle for me because I woke up at like 3 a.m. this morning, and I knew I wasn't going to fall back to sleep. I was having some dreams, came downstairs and started going through some of the news platforms, and I started reading some hard stuff. And, this isn't fiction. This isn't a bad movie. This is just, really, really something that no one on the planet has really gone through. Anyone that did go through the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic is probably so old now they don't really remember much about it. But, this is a whole new, no one has gone through this. So just reading these stories, hospital staff, hospital workers, people taking care of people that are home sick because they're not sick enough to be in the hospital. So I just kind of like buried myself in it, and then before I knew it, I felt this heaviness, because I was like, wow, I'm sitting here in the cellar and I'm trying to make some videos that are funny and stay light and walk my dog, and don't really feel much of it here, being where we're at. But it was heavy this morning. It was hard, and I just started thinking about people. I guess the biggest thing is, and I might have said this in the other video or something else that we had done recently, is, when you have this and you're critically ill and you're dying, unfortunately, you have no family members with you. And that just bothers me because I know that if I was really sick and I was dying, I want to look up, if I'm not sedated enough not to be conscious, and see someone that I'm comfortable with, I'm familiar with, my mother, my parents, my children, my ex-wife, my new wife, my dog, who knows, it doesn't matter. But to have someone that's, first off, a stranger, and two, they are exhausted, I'm sure, and they're dressed in this full PPE and MOP 4 level. You can't even really see them. You might see their eyes and part of their face. I just felt sad, I guess is the best way to put it. And that's,
I know when my dad was in hospice and he was transitioning from life to death, it was comforting to me to know that he wasn't alone, that he was surrounded by the people who loved him the most. And like you, when I think about people who are passing without that contact of people they love, or even people that they can see, like it's devastating.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I
And
have
there's
to manage
so
that.
many. And we're so isolated here where we live that I can't say it's easy to forget because we're checking in every single day, but it, it's heartbreaking actually. So
You're getting heavy, honey.
I
We said
know,
we
I
weren't going to
know,
get
I know. All
heavy.
right, all right.
Where's your sunglasses? I told you you need sunglasses this one.
All right, so let's continue on with, how we're feeling. We we kind of wrote down some things this morning about some negative, but also some positive things that are happening in our isolation. So this is nothing that other people aren't experiencing too, but the physical distance between people is so different. I went to the grocery store this week and saw tape on the floor of 6 feet difference between the line at the pharmacy and the line at the self checkout, and I thought, oh, that's new. What else? We're struggling with missing our kids, with the fact that we can't see them and tell them that everything is going to be okay, because it's that kind of world right now. We can't guarantee that everything is going to be okay. Where do you think you're struggling the most right now with the self-quarantine?
For me, I had to think about this one after we talked about it this afternoon. Freedom of movement. I'm a very free-spirited kind of person, so sometimes I might wake up in the morning and say, I'm headed to Rhode Island, or I'm headed to wherever, I'm going to do this. And I don't think twice about it as long as I have the cash to cover the trip. And I've lost that. I haven't lost that freedom because I could still do it. But the dynamics of my life have changed so much. I have a wife now, I have a dog, I have a mother-in-law, and then also have a responsibility to people that I don't know during my travels going from place to place. And I also have a responsibility to my friends and family in Rhode Island where I come from. So that has been taken away from me in a certain way because I want to be responsible. So I don't want to go, and I don't want to leave my wife, and I don't want to, go, come back and expose them to something that I might pick up on the trip. So the lack or the loss of what I consider personal freedom, and that's my ability to say, I want to go here today. Fuck it. Let's go. I can't do it.
Well, there's those long distance travels where you hop from state to state, but what about just going to the convenience store? I mean, what about wanting some gummy bears or something, a treat for your dog? I mean,
Yeah.
we're second guessing those for the first time. I mean, I think in the last couple of weeks we were thinking it's fine, we'll just hop in, we'll hop out, and now we're really weighing those visits to the grocery store, to the convenience store, to the gas station.
Yeah, I mean, those are the ones that, like, you just take for granted. It's like, oh, I need to go to the store. I want to go to the store and get, some beef jerky or a power drink or something like that or whatever. And you're literally, I didn't even say that word right. I probably struggled with it. You're literally taking your life in your own hands by going anywhere and possibly picking something up and bringing it into the household. So this past week, as the numbers have increased, I have actually been, I was pretty serious about it months ago, but I'm actually starting to say, I'm not going to do it. I'm just not going to do it. And that, I'm the kind of guy, my wife can tell you this, I don't like not having options. And I
Right.
hate not having my freedom.
Oh, we both love our freedom for sure.
Oh, man.
And boy,
So,
we're feeling restrained right now.
yeah. So, I mean, that's the big one. That's the one I miss the most, is just being able to do whatever I want to do. I know it sounds like I'm an asshole or something, like, oh, do you have any responsibilities? I have responsibilities, but I also have a responsibility to enjoy one of the things that I enjoy, and that is my freedom of movement.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
mean, I understand. On the one hand, I feel like it's so frivolous for us to be talking about this when people are suffering so much. But on the other hand, I can't, there's nothing I can do to help the people who are suffering, and my life is impacted to an extent, right? It can't
mm,
not change us, this being home all of the time. But I still feel like an asshole saying that this is hard.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't really have much to say else on the topic. That's my biggest one is
Yeah.
freedom. So, and of course, that freedom incorporates seeing my loved ones and my friends. That's all part of it. So under the same umbrella, you know, I don't have the freedom to reach out because I'm a person, people. I like seeing my friends and spending time with
Mm-hmm.
people, and I miss having that option. That option is kind of off the table.
We were talking about 3 weeks ago, we had another couple come over and hang out with us, and we're not doing that now. But on the other hand, we're learning how to do things differently. I mean, when we got together with this other couple, and there weren't just four, there were 4 or 5 of us. We played what is that game, Cards Against Humanity?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think I told you this, but there is an online version, so we can still play with our friends, but we do it from our own home, safe and sound. So that is something I never would have done otherwise before this. I wouldn't have played online, but now, like, let's do it. Let's connect. Let's do this thing.
Yeah, I mean, anything that you can do to kind of, I mean, to be social is important, whether or not you're talking to people on the phone or texting or whatever. But I mean, Facebook, it's kind of funny. We have these social media platforms that we use for like bullshit. Like, oh, I'm doing this today. It's mediocre shit. But now you have the opportunity to use these platforms for like important things, like really connecting with people, because people are stressed out. They're without food, they're without money, they're without the ability to like have people come over and console them.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of shit going on. So you can actually take these platforms now and do something that I consider worth the effort, and that's to like check on people, have like we did with your brother the other night. That was nice.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're doing things in a way that we've never done before, as I just mentioned. So let's talk about some of those positive things. So what Keith just mentioned is we had a Zoom call with my brother. It was my brother and my mother and me and my brother's wife and some of their kids and Keith, and we'd never done that before. It was one of those things that we know they're fine, we know they're good. Every now and then my brother will talk or we'll text each other, but it was so nice to see them face to face and to hear, oh, it's 70 degrees today and the kids are out scootering, and Ida fell down and she hurt herself, but she's doing okay. And I felt very touched by that, that small conversation that we never would have had otherwise.
Well, I got to admit, I mean, my take on the whole thing was, one, I haven't really done that with anyone besides Tad. And the other part of this, see, Jennifer and I just got married just almost 3 months ago. And looking at Tad, like, I'm part of a family. And that was something that snuck up on me. I have not been part of a family for a long, long time. And I was never part of a family prior to getting married my first time. And that really was a struggle for me anyways. But when Tad was talking to me and we were having this, I said, I'm married and I have a family now. Anyways, what I'm getting at is that part of me I felt really good because, if I was living a senior, an old person right now, and I was living alone and I didn't have anyone, to help me go shopping. I mean, just imagine if you're on a budget, your Social Security, you're a single senior, that's got to be sad. I actually felt like I've always been happy being alone, running around, acting like an asshole or the kind of guy I am. I just don't think much of certain things. I have fun. That's everywhere I go. But I actually thought, I'm married, one, to the woman I love. Two, they have a great family. They accept me and all my, whatever you want to call I have. So I was just I felt like, I can't tell you how good I felt when I saw that camera.
All right, so we did
Yes.
identify some other ways that we've experienced some unexpected positive things from this situation. One is the Zoom with family members, but we've been cooking more at home, but we've also been cooking together. This is not something that Keith has normally or previously done or enjoyed. And not only do we cook together, but we're also taking turns, and there are evenings when Keith is doing everything, which relieves the burden for everybody in the household, right? Not one person is cooking dinner, and not anybody is eating alone either.
Mm-hmm.
There are less commitments, at least for me. I don't have as many appointments. I'm not running around networking as often. It feels like a nice time out in a way.
Yeah, I have to back her up on this because initially when I first moved in the first time, she was just like rigid about her schedule. I was like, my God, there's no way I'm going to be able to like talk to her between this hour and this hour and this hour and this hour. And slowly, she's become, I would say, a little laid back, still not 100% because now she is totally working with this whole platform, getting our stuff out there and trying to make this channel something a lot better than I could do. She's doing a lot of work and I love you for it, baby. Don't forget that.
Yes.
Oh, speechless.
I
I can't believe it.
Well, I'm processing. So part of that is, now I'm married and I don't want to book my schedule so much that I don't have time for our relationship. I don't have time for you. So that was coming even before this happened. Because when I was alone and living alone, it didn't matter if I worked all the time. It's different when you're sharing a household with somebody.
Yeah.
Then with the COVID-19 virus, and we are home all the time, number one, like I don't have as many client meetings as I had. And number two, I just want, I really want to be present with everybody in this household. We recently just lost, which sounds like like someone died, but that's not true. Our college student who was living with us, actually, as we speak, I believe is on his way to South Korea, which is, I was going to say terrifying us, but we're just really worried about him and really concerned and understanding that he needs to be with family. He needs to serve his military service. But we just went from 4 adults to 3 adults in the household. And I am working on being present with everybody who's here. I don't know. That seemed like a long tangent.
No, I thought you were going to get choked up on that. You were borderline, weren't you?
Yeah.
I could tell.
I'm having a hard time thinking about someone I care about flying around the world right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My wife is very sensitive, and that's one of the reasons why I love her so much. She has a lot of empathy for all types. Not me so much. I can be a little rough around the edges, but you've made me a much better person. She enlightens me to be more forgiving, more acceptable. There's a lot of beauty in you, honey. Don't change that.
Well,
That's what I'm thinking about you.
But so. I mean, just to play devil's advocate, you are one of the most sensitive people I know. And even though you like to portray this really hard, rough exterior, I know better. Like, I know how much you care about all humans, all races, all ages, all genders, all the things. Like, you are just such a passionate person. So I'm not falling for that rough exterior, baby.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to say anything because that's tooting my own horn, but I have learned some hard lessons in my life by judging people too soon. And I'll give you, do I have time for a quick example of judging someone? Okay. Here's an example of judging someone. This is the kind of loser that I can be at my finest. So a number of years ago, long before Jennifer was even, around, I was dating a very attractive blonde, like you can imagine, a pinup poster of a woman. And it didn't go good because I was not the kind of guy that was ready to settle down. And what happened was I got myself in a position to where I ended up basically homeless. Right? So I know this good looking face. Come on. Yeah. So I ended up homeless. But prior to becoming homeless and the situation turning into a crazy event, I'm in the library with this blonde. She's researching a project because she's working on her master's. I'm sitting at this table on a Sunday because I have nothing better to do, looking at a book on dinosaurs because I'm such a genius, right? I'm looking at the pictures. Ooh, that one's got a lot of teeth. Oh my God, look how big the fangs are on that. Oh my God, look at the tail on this. So I hear a commotion at the front of the library. She's laughing, right?
I'm
I hear
laughing because I know like this version of you that you portray to people as like being very simple is like so opposite of the truth. So I'm just calling you out.
You can listen. You can't listen. This is my
I
story,
know.
okay?
Okay.
I'm looking
going.
at a coloring book on dinosaurs. So I hear a commotion at the front of the library, and honest to God, I look up, and there's this guy who's older than I am at the time. He's middle aged. He's probably my age now, but he's middle aged, and he's got like a shopping carriage with his personal belongings in it, and he wants to come into the library because it's wintertime. It's freezing where we're at, and the librarian is saying you can't bring this in, and he's basically looking at her saying, what do you mean I can't bring this in? I'm a fucking taxpayer and I'm coming in with my stuff. And I looked up at him, and without thinking twice about his story or who this guy was, I immediately said, hey, dude, leave your shit outside. Who the fuck wants your shit in the carriage? That's exactly what I said. Well, not 3 months later, I'm homeless in a homeless shelter, right? And guess who my bunkmate turns out to be?
That same guy?
The same guy.
No, get out. I did not.
So because he's a senior and I'm like in my 30s, I grabbed the top bunk on this bunk bed. And here's the biggest lesson that I learned in this conversation. I had many conversations with this guy. I was sitting up there and I looked down at him. I said, hey, I said, how'd you get here? And he looked me dead in the eyes. And this is like at midnight. He looks at me dead in the eyes. He goes, you know what, young son, young boy, or young guy? You need to ask yourself, how'd you get here? Yeah. I'll tell you how I got there. Fucking up. So, bad choices. That's my story. But I judged him instantly, and it turned out to be that he was a good American who came across some hard luck, maybe made a few wrong choices like we all do. And here I am sitting in the library. I got a hot blonde chick. I'm not worried about shit. She's got a house. I'm good to go. Ha, 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 judging you. Get your little stupid carriage out. And I'll never forget that. Never forget that. There was a guy just trying to keep his shit dry because it was snowing and raining outside, and he had no place to go. Yeah. So I was a good bunkmate, though. I shared my poncho liner with him. Go ahead, darling.
It's a good story. You never in a million years ever thought that you'd be homeless. And there you were out on the street. For how long?
Long time. I lived in a homeless shelter. Basically, I lived in a homeless shelter, and then I finally started to make some money cleaning cars. I mean, I can't tell you the kind of jobs and things that I did in my lifetime, but I went from like skydiving and doing all kinds of crazy stuff and doing, having this great life, traveling around to like absolutely didn't even have a bicycle. And then I had to get a job cleaning cars at this car detailing place, and eventually worked my way into like a union job. So I was able to get out of the homeless shelter after like 7 months, and then move into the YMCA where I lived in like a 6x6 cubicle for like 4 or 5 months until I was able to find a bigger place. But I mean, that was hard on me. It's hard because it's unfamiliar. But imagine what these people are going through right now that have children and no money, and they're, somebody's sick or this and that. I mean, that's what I went through is nothing compared to what's going on now. I'd take that 10,000 times over again than going through what some of these people are going through one time.
Yeah. One of my friends, one of my daughter's friends was recently released from jail because she took the fall for an embezzlement situation that her husband or her ex-husband, I don't know what the right word is, did. He embezzled money, she took the fall. and she hasn't been out for very long. My daughter met her through a work release program, and they were working together in the same restaurant. And this woman hasn't been able to find an apartment because she's a felon. She is now not working because of the coronavirus. She has medications that she needs to buy but doesn't have any money. My daughter checked in on her on Wednesday, and her friend said, I haven't eaten since Monday. And my heart is just breaking. The only thing I could do was send her a small gift card to the grocery store, but she was very appreciative and very thankful. But it just puts things into perspective of how good I have it, and how, even though we feel like we're struggling and we're complaining, man, we've got it easy. We got it so easy. I don't
We
know how we
do.
ended up on this topic.
Well, it got
Rabbit
pretty
holes,
deep.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
we always go down the rabbit holes. We're
yeah.
very what's the word? We're very curious, and
We're curious and we're empathetic.
yeah.
So looking back at our list of things that unexpected positive things that have been happening recently, we got together with neighbors, 2 nights ago, that
Mm-hmm.
we hadn't gotten together with. They moved in a year and a half ago, and I'd invited them over for cocktails. We hadn't quite ever made it happen because they have kids, they're busy, in the summer they go away. And yet they knocked on our door and said, hey, come on over, we're having a few people. And it was kind of great. There were 4 or 5 couples. We were out in the driveway, at least 6 feet apart, coupled up, but in like, at times I felt like, we're kind of shouting across the circle to have conversation with people on the other side, but it was nice. It
It
was,
was, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, for me, we were just talking about, this goes to, I think it's on the board. I am a very social, I am interested in talking to human beings. And I'm not talking about having, like, hey, how's your day? I'm willing to go deeper than that, right? So I enjoy my interaction with other human beings. I mean, that's how we learn. That's how we grow, right? It's like you're a flower. You need sunshine. If you don't see the sun, you don't grow. So I've missed that. That's probably goes along the umbrella or under the umbrella of missing that freedom. I miss the freedom to engage with people and take the opportunity to chat. So when Jeff came over, hold on a second now, when Dr. Jeff came over and asked me, Keith, with 2 GEDs to come hang out and party, I was like, you betcha, Jeff. I'll bring my chair and my new bride right over there, my new bride. I pulled it, Jeff. Yeah. Yeah. East Providence, baby. East Providence boys. We still got it.
Remember what we did yesterday that we'd never done before?
Now what?
I gave you a haircut.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of unexpected. And I didn't do a half bad job.
No. I would take my hat off right now, but it'll force you to see how young I am being 22 and she's 52. So, I mean, we're trying to keep that under wraps. But anyways, she did a nice job. You did an awesome job.
On our list.
Yeah. So I don't have to spend $20 anymore to actually get a haircut. Now I can use that money and buy, I can't say that word, Delta. You guys figured it out. Yeah, she knows what I'm talking about. She knows. Don't say nothing. Don't go in. Just kind of like ignore like I didn't hear nothing because she knows one little word.
I feel like this podcast episode has just gone way off the rails.
It's not. No, we're on the rails, but she gave me a haircut. I can save money now. I know she can do it. I trust her. Yeah. And that gives us more money to buy Delta. Next topic.
And now we're starting to work on writing our books.
She is. I haven't started shit.
No, but we're talking about it. He has a book inside him that needs to be written. So y'all need to encourage him.
Loser.
No. Lot of good stories. A lot of good love. Okay,
And what
so
else we got?
I think that's about it. Next month or the end of April, we'll do another check-in. We'll talk about what the stats are then and what are we struggling with, and maybe some other emerging positive experiences. But we can't anticipate what that's going to be. But month by month, we know absolutely that things are changing. We just can't imagine what they will be. So we'll just keep doing this.
Thank you for joining the channel, everybody. And make sure you subscribe and whatever else you can do. I mean, any money that you guys pay to Patreon gives me...
let's talk about Patreon.
All right. Well, let's go ahead. Take it. You know more about it than I do.
Yeah. So we have a Patreon account now, and this is an opportunity for people to get behind the scenes access to content that we're working on. We are throwing out polls to say, what do you want to hear from us? Every time Keith writes me a love poem or I write one to him, we throw that up there, as well as just videos that are a part of our work and life routine. So if you want to become a patron of Patreon and follow the Complex Couple, please visit our website, thecomplexcouple.com, and click on Become a Patron.
Yeah.
We're looking for our first patron.
Yeah, just be the first. I mean, I'm going to
first. Yeah. We will give you a shout out. You will like bow down to you.
I'm having fun doing this. My wife and I enjoy. I mean, she's the first person I've met that's as transparent and as honest as I am. And I'm not saying that people are honest, but people typically are scared to say what's really going on. And I am happy to share everything about myself, the ups, the downs, whatever, EPD, I don't, Viagra, you name it, you throw it at me, I will talk about it. I probably have I've got a lot of experiences in my life, so some good, some bad, but I will always be honest, and I know my wife will too, but we're having fun doing this. And the thing is, if you're sitting at home and you're in quarantine right now and you watch this and you said, God damn, he's stupid as shit, but he's funny at times. I'm doing something that I feel is good, because I told my wife tonight, if I could, I would go to a hospital and volunteer. But I've been single for a long time, and I'm kind of crazy like that. But I can't do those things. So what can I do? I can perform. I can, talk crazy shit or whatever. Tell you something. I mean, I've got some crazy, crazy stories. But I will share whatever you want with full transparency if you come up with a topic, whatever. So don't be afraid to request something, whatever. Subscribe, join our channel, whatever you do, Patreon, whatever you got to do. Have a good time. Come in here and laugh and leave some comments. Negative, positive, neutral, doesn't matter to me.
All right, we got to go. We are way over time. So I'm just going to cut you off and say goodnight so that we can.
Bye, everybody. Bye, everyone. I love you, honey. I'll talk to you later.
You too. All right, bye. Thank you for listening to the Complex Couple Podcast. For even more content, including videos, blog posts, invitations, access to our Patreon account, and more, visit our website at thecomplexcouple.com. And be sure to subscribe, share, and write a review for this podcast. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week.